Joe Biden, meanwhile, one of his big international tests coming right now, the situation in Israel with Gaza. What's your take on this? There has been some analysis that perhaps Biden coming in has emboldened Iran and therefore Hamas in Gaza.
Look, I'm an Asia specialist. I won't pretend to have any deep expertise in the Middle East. Having said that, in the 40 years of my professional lifetime, I don't know that deep experts in the Middle East are any more successful explaining this problem than I might be. I think what you might really look at is the changing politics both in Israel and in the United States. And so, this most recent outbreak takes place at a time when Israel was looking at its fourth presidential poll in the course of a year, where Benjamin Netanyahu was unable to form a government. And in the United States, where there's an interesting divide where the Jewish American community has increasingly been skewing left and not supportive of the relatively right-wing government in Israel of Netanyahu, who was close friends with Donald Trump. And on the other hand, it is the Republican Party in the United States, and in particular evangelical Christians, who support Netanyahu. So the situation in terms of politics is shifting on the ground, and that's what Joe Biden is having to maneuver with. He's having to maneuver with a Democratic base, including Jewish Americans who are less supportive of Netanyahu and criticism from Republicans on the right. The real question for me, looking at this from Australia, is what impacts will this have on U.S. policy towards our region? Is this going to be yet another area where the distractions in the Middle East drag back U.S. attention and resources to that region as opposed to our region?
Gordon, just finally, nearly out of time, but interesting speech from Penny Wong, and also, well, the part that was given out to the media ahead of time and the part that wasn't. The part that wasn't was criticism of the Chinese Communist Party's ideology, but the part that was criticism of the Morrison government's rhetoric. What did you make of that?
So most of the reporting, because of that dynamic, focused on the domestic partisan elements of the speech. I read through the speech quite carefully. If you had focused on the speech content, I think you would have come away saying, wow, this is a really hard-hitting speech on China, one that traditionally would have been seen as an anti-China speech. I mean, she talked about China not only being more assertive, but the assertion moving into aggression, criticized gray zone tactics in the South China Seas, criticized the demise of the one country, two systems principle in Hong Kong, criticized economic coercion and China's increasing nationalism under Xi Jinping, seeking to weaken our liberal international system. So it's a pretty hard-hitting speech. That to me is actually a more remarkable content because it implies, just like in the United States, just like in Canada, the UK, or elsewhere, China's actions have actually decreased any partisan divide that there might be in countries like Australia around the world. They're really reactions to Chinese actions.
Yeah.
Partisan politics are separate from the real content of the speech.
I think it's a fair point. Look, we probably always maybe keep too close an eye on the politics here in Canberra, but there you go. Gordon, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.